What is going on, everybody? My name is Ri-Fi, and we're going to be looking at a overall view of Frostpunk 1 and my hopes and expectations for Frostpunk 2. What would I love to see in a second sequel? What would I love to see implemented that wasn't in the first, and some quality of life changes that was in the first that hopefully makes it into the second. So first of all, let's look at Frostpunk 1. What did I think worked really well? And what did I think that worked not so well? Let's start with the positive first. So, as I've said in my first video and continuous videos, Frostpunk has been probably one of my all-time favourite games. It is a exceptionally undervalued game, and people need to know about it. And I sort of strive to make these videos to sort of get the game out there, because not many people play it as much as they should, and the quality in the game, the music in the game, the gameplay, and just sort of the difficulty of it in such a sense. It's a game that in 2021 you don't really get to see that often, and you don't really get to enjoy a game in such as a world where we expect rewards around every corner with a battle pass or an immediate sort of gratification. Frostpunk brings us back to the good old days where it's you need to work really hard and strategize every single move that you make, because every single move that you make will effectively change the outcome of the end game. And that is one of the reasons why I really love Frostpunk, and I will continue making content because I believe in this game and I believe in the company that makes it. But anyway, that's me swooning over the video game that I love making content for. Let's first start off with what I really like. So a little bit of that was in there. It was the complexity of it, the music, and I mentioned it in my why you should play Frostpunk in 2021, but this one will look more in depth of the game, the values of what the game brings, and sort of the difficulty and everything that it comes with. So let's first off look at gameplay. So like I said, the gameplay in Frostpunk differs from game mode to game mode, and now there's the Game of the Year edition or a season pass if you've bought it and you get all the different expansions. Every single scenario comes with a different set of difficulties, and each scenario also comes with customized sort of difficulties you can pick or preset difficulties, but you can customize every single one to your heart's content, which really does sort of go with the replayability of the game. You have so much potential to sink hours and hours. I mean, I'm up to almost 200 hours played, and I've not really touched the endless mode or the builders mode or serenity section, which is the sort of where you can just build and build and build with all the different maps and all the different sort of game modes. There's all sorts you can do. But what I really liked was that they kept everybody sort of guessing what's going to come next, how it's going to bring more complexity. And a game where you have to survive a frozen waste, you would think, where could you really go with that? But the developers of the game have really sort of done fantastically well at linking each scenario with the other, so it tells a very amazing story, but also it gives you the opportunity to play the scenarios from the perspective of that storyline. But every single scenario gives a different perspective, whereas the first playthrough, A New Home, sort of gives you the basic rundown of what's happened. That's like the ultimatum of the whole game, where it's like, okay, you've been stuck in a frozen waste, you've got no help, people have come over from London, and you're sort of stuck. The Arcs offers a different scenario. You've got to protect the seedlings from the civilization that you abandoned in London, so it adds that extra twist. Refugees, it links in where, you know, the boats come from London, and the rich were going one way, the workers and everything were going another, but the workers sort of commandeered this generator and fled, and the sort of the lords were coming over to reclaim that area. And just those three, it adds a link between them, but three different completely separate scenarios, with obviously the Axe as well having to save a separate civilization, which I'm sure is linked. And the Fall of Winterhome, one of the hardest, I would say, scenarios, that links into everything. Things have gone wrong and you need to save it. The Last Autumn, you are there to build the first ever generator, and when that came out, I was absolutely shocked that the fact that, right, we've been in the frozen waste and now we're going at like actual plus 10, plus 20 degrees Celsius, and thinking, wow, okay, this is a different game mode, and it adds a whole different complexity with worker rights and you got to work through that through the Book of Laws instead of working through making sure everybody is fed and children are working and everything. This one is literally you are there to build the first generator because this frost is coming. So London and I think it's Liverpool as well. Actually, they telling you to build this thing, and obviously we know what that is, but they don't. And it's like this is a completely different area. And then, of course, on the edge, the final scenario from Frostpunk, you add the complexity of different neighbouring villages, which adds a whole reputation system, and you need to work through that to sort of barter for food and barter for wood and coal, whilst also fighting off the area, the new area, New London, which is like you're thinking, okay, so we've gone through all of this, and they've added even more to the game, more diversity. Where a game you think actually this is a one trick pony, one stop shop, there's even more to come, and that's what they've offered, with all different difficulties, with all different levels of complexities, and then also an endless mode where you can do all of that all over again in your own way. It's like a free build. You can build in a big map, and whereas before you had the essential countdown of the game mode itself, you have complete freedom to build whatever you want, wherever you want. And it also gives you great building skills to then go back into the original scenarios and try those methods out on an even harder game mode. So, looking forward to Frostpunk 2, where can they go? Thinking about it, where could they go from there? And what I want to talk about very briefly with Frostpunk 2 is there's a few things that were wrong with Frostpunk 1. There was extreme issues with lag. A few of my videos you could see was stuttering. That wasn't rendering or anything. That was no issues with rendering. And other people on my videos have commented that there is an issue with the lag. And I really do hope that the company can sort of fix that in a sense. When On the Edge expansion first came out, there was an issue with when you clicked on neighbouring villages, if you're on a certain speed or a certain time, it would cut the game out. There's many a time where I couldn't actually upload any content because every minute or so I was saving, or I was manually saving, because the next time a neighbouring settlement would come up like a pop-up, or I would click on that to do a trade, it would freeze the game and cut me out. And yes, they fixed that, but it was probably a month before my game mode was fixed. Even when they said the fix was there, it wasn't. You know, so and games aren't without their bugs. There's plenty of games today where, you know, you've got unfinished releases. Like look at Cyberpunk that's just come out, that was riddled with issues. So, you know, no game is perfect, but I would very much like maybe a little bit extra time, and maybe if they do beta testing for content creators, another shameless plug, but maybe send it out, maybe a developer edition where they could sort of help iron those issues out. Maybe they did and I just didn't know, who knows, but I would love that opportunity to be able to help with the new game. But yeah, so without that, and without the issue of technical issues, what would I have liked to have changed in Frostpunk 1? I would have preferred if we had the opportunity to be able to go even closer in on the sort of civilization and see the people. I don't think the camera allowed to zoom in too much, and I would have liked to be able to go into the buildings as well, like go in and see the inner workings of each building, like what does the workshop look like, how does the coal mine work, and be able to go into the houses as well and look inside the tents and see inside, look inside the house and see the family and how the family work and the dynamics, maybe have an argument in there, or you know, like having dinner, and what do they do for pastime. You know, we don't see them for a lot of the time, and in the public house and things like that. So I would have liked for the opportunity to be able to maybe see a little bit more. And I know the game isn't really about that, it's about survival, but it would have added a nice little twist to the game, something where we could sort of develop with the characters. Now I know the characters inside the game mode die quite often, so maybe having an emotional bond with them probably isn't the best idea, but I would have liked to have that extra connection with the characters and being able to see them. So maybe that's something for Frostpunk 2. But yeah, as I was going through my list and writing things that I disliked about the game, I sort of came short. There was not a lot that I didn't like about this game. And that's quite rare because I am quite a critic for a lot of games. There's a lot of things that I think they need to do better. We pay good money for a game and they fall short. But with Frostpunk, I didn't really find anything particularly wrong with it, which is nice. It's a nice change. And I'm not going to sit here and think about things that I would like to change and things I didn't like, because there isn't a lot. But what would I like in Frostpunk 2? So the first and foremost thing is more sort of connection with your people. Being able to maybe look inside the houses, go around and see what's going on after hours. I would have loved, and I actually got the, I actually read a comment wrong. When I asked about what would you like to see in Frostpunk 2, somebody put, I would like to finish the game. And I read that as fish or fishing. So I was like thinking, oh, that'd be a really good idea. What, like make like a node inside your base where you could drill down into the water underneath and create a depot similar to like on the last autumn. And then I realised I was being completely stupid, but it got me thinking that'd be really cool. Like, I would love more customizable buildings, more buildings to do more things. You know, obviously we've got a hunter's hut, a hothouse, maybe a fishing depot would be nice. Maybe more agricultural options. That would be pretty cool. I know obviously the world now is leaning more favourably towards vegans and vegetarians, although I eat meat. I'm sorry for anybody who listens that isn't. But maybe more vegetarian options for our lovely civilization in the frozen wastes, although they probably get what they're given. Maybe some vegan options might be nice. Maybe having like a tofu plant or something like that. But another viewer thought of a really cool idea with what they would like in maybe Frostpunk 2 is options for like a multiplayer mode where because one of the big things in Frostpunk 1 is that everybody was annoyed with you, but nobody ever did anything about it. Obviously you were kicked out, but neighbouring villages or anything never did anything. Whereas it would be really cool if you had the option where other civilizations would have to attack your area, look for your generator, steal some parts from your generator, steal some coal, steal some wood, and they sort of visually come into your base and you had to defend it with watchtowers and things like that. That would be really cool. And then he came up with an idea, and this viewer said maybe an option for multiplayer as well. And that got me thinking, like, imagine the possibilities of having like a bit like a Clash of Clans sort of deal where you had to put defences on your area to stop raiders coming in. And then when you're not online, other people can try and attack, and then you could attack other villages, other settlements for resources. And I think that's a really cool idea. That is a cool next step for Frostpunk 2, is to go multiplayer. Now, I know a lot of people say leave single players to single player. And I know there's one of my closest friends who will listen to this and think, don't be silly, don't ask for a multiplayer, because he is very for single player and I do like the multiplayer aspect. But I think connecting the people of Frostpunk and the community of Frostpunk, doing something like that would be a really cool idea. Other things you could do is a leaderboards section where you can compete against how fast you could build your city with the resources that you've got before the freeze comes. Like, obviously the big freeze is coming, which is a valuable part of the game mode. Imagine having something that you had to compete against other people for a high sort of score and maybe a prize. That would be cool. And without being too gimmicky, it would be really cool if you can customize buildings to suit you. So maybe like a bit of paint or something that sort of visually represents your area and your civilization. That would be really cool to add more customizations for building colors or building materials and things like that. And maybe with obviously the big freeze is coming, maybe other natural disasters could hit as well, like an electrical storm that would cut out your buildings for 12 hours and you had to figure out a way to sort of survive that. Or maybe like an earthquake, or you dug too deep and you've built a crack through your settlement and you need to fix it. There's other disasters which would be really cool to add inside your game modes. There's so much that you could go with it, and I really hope Frostpunk 2 isn't just a carbon copy of Frostpunk 1 with a few additions. And from what I've seen from the first game and the Game of the Year edition, all the different scenarios, I am completely positive and I have no issues with the fact that they will bring out a fantastic sequel. I know it's going to be amazing. I really can't wait. And the possibilities are endless. So let me know in the comments, what would you like to see? For me, the top 3 things would be more customization and more connection with your community, more buildings, more sort of adventurous options for getting wood and coal and things like that. And then the multiplayer aspect where you get to fight other players to defend your resources. And also in the game modes, being able to go and attack other villages. You know, you're minus 20 degrees, people start turning on their own. What's stopping them from going to attack other settlements? It's a very real possibility. Us human beings are like that, and that will happen. So I would love to see that. So let's wait and see what happens, but write in the comments down below what you would like to see. Some ideas. Maybe a developer might see this and think that's a really cool idea, and they'll put it in the game. Who knows? But once again, thank you for joining me on Frostpunk Friday. We're going to start going through all the scenarios and offering guides. I might even do a 2 or 3 part series next Friday, or maybe even put 2 videos out a week, a playthrough and then a guide. Who knows? But we'll stick to the Frostpunk Friday and we'll work from there. So as always, I've been your host, Ri-Fi. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all the support that you've given me. Hit that like button, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. We're still going to that 1,000 subscriber goal by the end of 2021. Let's see if we can make it. But I will see you guys in the next video. Take care and enjoy and stay safe in the frozen wastes.